so, my darling Fred. I have tonight made a very serious decision.
And what is that?
No longer will I play the field.
Congratulations.
The field stinks, both economically and socially.
Audrey and I specifically never had a disagreement that I can remember. People would advise Audrey, and we would rehearse one night, and she'd come back the next day and do something totally different. And I finally took her aside and said, hey, there's only one director. He may not be the best, but that's what you got. And you either go along with what we agree on together, or you got to get another director. And that changed right then. And she relied on me from that moment on. It was easy to spot what she was doing. And she was some kind of spectacular lady.
I'll buy a drink. You drink?
Yeah.
I'll buy a drink.
Okay.
George Axelrod wrote the brilliant script, but the cocktail party was pure Blake Edwards.
He called me one day and he said, I'm going over to the set because I'm going to do this crazy party sequence, and I'm just going to play around and see what I can use.
The script itself didn't delineate that much in terms of party shenanigans, and that meant that I was going to have to invent it.
But we just walked around seeing what kind of crazy madness we could create. They had the one thing where he was on the floor crawling to get the telephone that was ringing that was in a suitcase, you know, things like that.
Actually, in the party sequence, a lot of it was choreographed, I think, as they went along.
And I ordered up champagne, and we had a party. And I told him that. I got him around, and I said, you know, now you're going to help me out. See if you can come up with stuff. And knowing actors, and everybody was going to come up with something at that point, and did. And out of that, I selected a lot of stuff that led me into a lot of stuff that I thought was fun and creative.
I remember that he would walk by me and he'd say, what am I going to do with you? And about the second or third day, he comes by and he said, I know. He said, you're always laughing, so I'm going to put you in front of a mirror and you can laugh your head off.
Then he dreamed up a crazy thing with another actor, and he said, why don't you two, I'm going to do a big close-up, and you two be arguing. And he didn't tell us what about. And in the middle of our argument, he pulls up the patch and didn't need it, so it was just kind of a crazy moment.
And then, 2 or 3 days later, he said, you know, by now I think she might have a crying jag. I said, yeah. And he said, okay, go for it.
And we really just had a party. Had it been otherwise, I think it would have taken 2 weeks. And it didn't take anything like that.
You heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way.
Well, I was really quite amazed that she was able to pull that off. I didn't know she sang. Nobody knew.
See the world, there's such a lot of world to see.
When I saw the film for the first time with an audience, we were in preview, and the head of the company then said, well, I'll tell you one thing, we can get rid of that song. Fortunately, Audrey stood and said, over my dead body.
Huckleberry friend, moon, river, and me.
One of my favorite scenes is the last scene, you know, with the cat.
Whew, boy, did that cat smell. Get that cat wet, and that's not easy when you've got the lights pouring down on you and you can hardly breathe anyway, and then you bring the cat in and she's got it in the rain and right up her nose. It was awful.
What makes it still an important movie is, I think, it's the romanticism of the film and the relationship, and when Audrey is the most vulnerable, and when George Peppard talks to her, when she's going to run away, that last scene in the taxi, and then when she goes and finds the cat, and they're all hugging in the rain. I'm an old romantic, I guess, but that's my favorite part of the picture.
It just gets into your soul, gets into your heart, may even get into your tears.
I don't think there would be anyone that could ever follow Audrey Hepburn in any role, because, I mean, she was unique.
She always had a spark of humor and be able to deliver that kind of kooky little attitude. But it's a movie everybody can identify with. I think a lot of people have that kookiness, whether they let it show or not, you know. I think a lot of people wanted to be Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Because she had a way of showing us who she really was. She really made you look into her soul. And you see it whether she played a princess or a nun or a flower girl or a Holly Golightly.
She just had a grace and a beauty and a charm that I can't think of anyone else like her. And yet with it there was a sweetness and a vulnerability. She was just delightful.
What was she really like? And the lovely answer is that she really was like what you saw on the screen. She really was that way.
I think that movie was made like a classic. I really think that everything Blake does becomes a classic.
I got real lucky. I like to think that I added a lot to those things, like the party. That certainly wasn't written the way I shot it. And so we complemented each other, everyone kind of.
I think at the end of the day, the picture is famous not so much because of what Audrey was as a human being, but because she represented something that I think women care about.
It's kind of movies like they don't make anymore. I think that's part of its magic for today as well. And we should make more films like that.